Bullwinkle P. Moose here with a special announcement. Jambareeqi will be hosting a live stream Q&A on the 16th of August at 6 p.m. I think I'm going to ask him about the Frostbite Falls trees.
Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here. Rocky and Bullwinkle are a pair of cartoon characters created by comedy writer Jay Ward. The Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoons were known for their self-referential humour, cliffhangers, relevant satire and cheesy puns. The Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoons have often been interpreted as anti-communist propaganda, but a lot of people do look back on them as comedy classics. I've watched a couple of episodes and I think they're okay. Just okay. Yeah, they made me laugh a few times, but the cheap animation and sloppy editing really hold back the show's potential comedy, and come off as distracting. In the year 2000, Rocky and Bullwinkle got their own Hollywood movie. The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle is a live-action / animated fantasy comedy. When the evil cartoon character's fearless leader, Boris and Natasha, enter the real world, they intend to brainwash the nation using hypnotic television programs. It's up to FBI agent Karen Sympathy to get the help of Rocky the Flying Squirrel and Bullwinkle the Moose to defeat these power-hungry villains. Okay, so before I begin this review, I'd like to make it clear that all my opinions are being directed towards the movie, not the TV show. I want to review this film as a standalone effort, because, well, it is a theatrical release for the mainstream public, and not everyone has seen the Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoons. Okay? Thank you. With the producer of The Iron Giant at the director's helm, and a performance by renowned method actor Robert De Niro, you would think that this would be a really good movie. No. Not at all, far from it. The film actually starts off pretty okay, displaying some sharp and relevant satire on Hollywood.
It was a beautiful and smoggy day at Pony Pictures Studio, where an ambitious junior executive named Minnie Mogul was busy searching for a hot new script.
Too intelligent.
Plus, the hand-drawn animated segments are also charming and kind of funny too.
While the narrator, that's me, down on his luck and out of a job, was forced to move in with his mother, where he was reduced to narrating the events of his own life. With a speed and dexterity astonishing in a woman of her advancing years, Mother bastes the chicken, tosses the salad, and mashes the potatoes.
Oh, Sonny, shut up!
Ow!
Then, the rest of the movie just has Rocky and Bullwinkle goofing about as they travel the roads, while Natasha and Boris try to kill them. Sure, there's some mildly funny fourth wall jokes and cheesy puns, but these jokes don't make up for how monotonous and stale the story is. Each obstacle our heroes come across are defeated by contrived coincidences and rushed resolutions. Half the time the film just makes shit up for the convenience of the main characters, lazily throwing together quick nonsensical conclusions for how they get out of their predicaments. Yes, the film jokes about these coincidences, but these moments of chance luck render the film boring. It's not exciting or entertaining watching Deus Ex Machina being served on a plate to our characters. It takes away the tension. Self-aware humour is not a free pass to be lazy with your storytelling. It doesn't matter how meta you are, the bad storytelling is still there, and it makes the film dull. I mean, if a serial killer kills someone and admits to being guilty of the murder, that doesn't mean they're off the hook. They still killed someone. Look what you made me do, movie! Broke my plate! Now what am I gonna eat my dinner on? Bastard! Now, I will admit that the film did get a laugh out of me a few times, but for the most part, I was bored silly from the lack of excitement and investment. There's just something about this movie's ideas and direction that seem unimaginative, lazy, and mundane. I couldn't get immersed in this film because nothing much was happening, and there's a huge lack of tension. Scenes plod along without much to offer except a rare funny joke from time to time.
You see these stills from the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle? Well, they perfectly sum up what it's like to watch this movie. I'm not even kidding. The whole cartoon to real world process is a bit confusing and lame. You see, the only way for a cartoon character to come into the real world involves them having to get a Hollywood movie greenlighted. The movie has to be based on the cartoon they're from, too. Isn't that a bit specific and unimaginative for a fantasy movie? Where's the magic and enchantment behind that concept? Also, the villains come through to the real world by getting someone to sign a contract for a Rocky and Bullwinkle movie. So why don't Rocky and Bullwinkle come through at the same time as the villains, instead of later on through a contrived movie greenlight machine? Why do Fearless Leader, Boris and Natasha come through as live-action characters, but Rocky and Bullwinkle come through as cartoon characters? It makes little sense. I swear that the writer just made stuff up as he went along, while the director and studio were oblivious to the obvious holes in the script's consistency or logic. There's no imagination or thought behind the cartoon world to real-world transportation. I guess the makers of this film assumed that their audience would be really stupid. I think that's very offensive, condescending, and patronising. Bullwinkle is actually a really likeable character. He's optimistic, goofy, silly, happy-go-lucky, and actually makes quite a few funny jokes. His oblivious naivety can be quite amusing because it makes him seem so charmingly sweet and innocent. However, I will admit that he can be a bit irritating sometimes, especially when he goofs about at the worst opportunities, putting others in danger or wasting valuable time. I can also imagine that his cheesy puns and vaudevillian sense of humour will annoy some audiences. Despite these problems, I really like Bullwinkle in this movie. He's just so easygoing, confident and cheerful. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of Rocky in this movie. He's too serious and mature. There's nothing funny or entertaining about him. Sure, he makes a decent straight man to play off Bullwinkle, but he's way too serious for a cartoon character. He spends most of the movie judging everyone around him with a cross face. However, maybe other people will find him to be cute, and will end up rooting for his desire to regain his flying abilities. There is something adorable about him, I guess. Karen's sympathy is an FBI agent being pressured to be unemotional and hard-boiled for the sake of her career. This has locked away the child inside of her and led her to commit thoughtless actions that hurt others, all for the sake of her mission. It's the nostalgic whimsy of Rocky and Bullwinkle that will gradually help her to open up and be herself more often. Karen is a fairly likeable character, a quirky tomboy who is spunky, bubbly and energetic, but only when she slips up and shows her real self. While a character's internal conflict isn't exactly studied in intellectual or soulful detail, it's certainly presented in a way that fits the film's family-friendly tone, using the adorable visual of little Karen, who represents Karen's restrained self-expression.
Don't expect Karen's private battles to be portrayed with deep, sophisticated drama. They're played more for laughs. This doesn't bother me. I can imagine it irritating some people, but this is a family-friendly, light-hearted comedy, so it works.
Fearless Leader, the main villain of the film, isn't that fun. He spends most of the movie sat in a chair or stood around shouting commands at staff members. Even his minions do more stuff on screen than him. In addition, Fearless Leader's big evil plan is pointless. He has zombified the nation so that he can hypnotize them into voting for him as president, in hopes of international domination.
Hey, jackass! The entire country is zombified! You've already got control over everyone! You've already dominated the country! There's no point getting them to vote for you as president! It's irrelevant! It wastes time! It's asinine! Fearless Leader, were you dropped on your head as a baby? It's like stealing £1 million, then using that £1 million to buy you £1 million. It's like knocking someone out with a baseball bat, then convincing them to be unconscious.
Boris and Natasha, the Fearless Leader's minions, are silly, goofy, and clumsy. I kind of like them. Sure, their tactics to defeat Rocky and Bullwinkle are lame and unimaginative, but there's something sweet about their relationship. There's a tender and joyful connection between them both. It's kind of adorable. Now, it's established that Boris and Natasha are live-action characters, once they're in the real world, yet the film still makes them do cartoony things, which is confusing. Are they live-action characters or cartoon characters? You can't say they're live-action and make them act like a Looney Tune. Like I said, the film's opening hand-drawn animated segments are very charming and funny. They also look really great. They're colourful, expressive and wacky. I wish the film used this animation style for the rest of the movie, to be honest, because, well, the CGI versions of Rocky and Bullwinkle aren't that great. Now, don't get me wrong, the choice of making them cel-shaded really works. It gives the impression that these are hand-drawn cartoons in 3D form. However, the animation for CGI Rocky and Bullwinkle is rather stale. Their movements, gestures, facial expressions, and actions are too laid back and slow. Like I said in my Space Chimps review, restraining character animation for a comedy makes the visual gags fall flat. The slapstick and goofy reactions in this movie aren't exaggerated enough. So they don't come off as funny and they fail to make Rocky and Bullwinkle seem like wacky cartoon characters. I hate to repeat myself sometimes, I really do. But unfortunately, this film's animation happens to have the same flaw as last episode's movie. Another problem is that the compositing of the animated characters into live action is some of the worst I've seen since Cool World. When actors physically interact with Rocky and Bullwinkle, it looks stiff, awkward and unconvincing.
So, on the DVD cover, the voice actors aren't given any credit. Instead, billing goes to the cartoon characters themselves. I know this is supposed to be humorous and tongue-in-cheek, but it's not that funny. Oh, he's a cartoon character, how can he be the star of a movie? It's a wasted opportunity to give recognition to some wonderful voice actors. I mean, a lot of voice actors already have a hard time getting notoriety because they don't have famous faces. I might be taking this to heart, but I respect voice acting as a profession, and this, well, it's disrespectful.
Australian voice actor Keith Scott plays Bullwinkle. He does a great job, sounding cheeky and goofy, but also charmingly humble, giving an upbeat and modest performance while capturing the naive innocence of his character perfectly in the process.
Gee, it looks so different. Everything's in the same place, but
Well, what's the matter? You've been a live-action university since the show went into reruns back in '64.
I thought the buildings looked a lot more realistic.
Legendary voice actress June Foray plays Rocky. Even though most of her lines are limited to complaints and whines, Foray gives a sweet and adorable voice to Rocky that's very cute, delivering her lines with high spirit and natural energy.
Agent Sympathy, can I ask you something personal? Did you watch her show?
Did I watch your show? I loved your show.
You did?
Sure. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to have adventures like you guys.
Now, most of the live-action actors in this film come across as incredibly awkward. I don't know if it's because they feel uncomfortable being in the film, or if the director wasn't clear enough, but they seem a bit lost.
Piper Perabo is Karen's Sympathy. She is possibly the best live-action performer in the film, but that's not saying much. Perabo does a passable job. She manages to bounce between her conflicting personalities of serious agent and hyperactive fangirl to the best of her ability. She's not anything amazing. I mean, some of her deliveries can be a bit forced or overdone, but she certainly does a better job than everyone else. She looks like she's the only one who is happy and comfortable being in the movie.
Hey, lunatic! Why don't you watch where you're... Rocky! Bullwinkle!
Karen!
Guys, I missed you so much! I was so worried about you, I didn't even... Good work, Agents Rocky, Bullwinkle.
Robert De Niro plays Fearless Leader. He is most certainly the worst actor in the film. His performance is mind-blowingly awful. He seems so lost, awkward, uncomfortable, and out of place. His deliveries are wooden and hammy, he's stiff, robotic, and completely unconvincing. It's embarrassing watching him.
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? Then who else are you talking to? Are you talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here. So you must be talking to me.
Jason Alexander plays Boris and Renee Russo is Natasha. They both seem just as lost and awkward as most of the other live-action actors. However, their chemistry often shines through in some scenes. I mean, there were moments in this film where I could actually believe that these two were a close couple, who had known each other for a long time. So yeah, they're not great, but sometimes there's a heartfelt endearment between them on screen.
We don't need computer weapon to kill moose and squirrel. We've been trying to kill moose and squirrel for 35 years.
And we never even come close.
Exactly.
Boris. Don't you want to have little Boris, Little Natasha. Oh, wouldn't it be wonderful? We could rent cottage by sea of Pennsylvania and teach them how to lie and cheat and be rotten.
The original music for this film was composed by Mark Mothersbaugh from the cult band Devo. Mothersbaugh has done many music scores before, for such things as Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, The Sims games and the Rugrats franchise. His score for this film isn't his strongest effort. It's a mixed bag to say the least. I like how it plays distinct Slavic music for scenes with the villains, reflecting their ethnic origins. I also like how it's capable of being bouncy and wacky to support comedic moments. However, it can sound really sappy for sentimental scenes. It tries way too hard to sound tender and emotional, resulting in some very cheesy music. Overall, it's not a bad score, it's just flawed.
To conclude, The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle is a boring and lazy movie. Yeah, it's got some funny jokes, a couple of likeable characters, and a good-hearted message about embracing the child inside of you. However, its story is half-arsed, its animation is restrained, and a lot of the live-action actors look incredibly uncomfortable. I wasn't predicting this movie to be the equivalent of Citizen Kane, but I was expecting it to put in some effort. That's what I expect from every movie, high-quality effort.
I'm going to give this film 2 strawberries out of 5. However, if you enjoyed such titles as George of the Jungle or Boo, Zeno and the Snurks, then you may get something out of this movie.
I've been Jambareeqi and I hope you enjoyed my review. Feel free to subscribe to my channel and I encourage you to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. In the next episode, I'm going to review Sky Blue. Cheerio, folks.